It was a birthday celebration which went horribly wrong. By the time police arrived, 53-year-old Annika Kalevska was dead, shot by 70-year-old Pavel Gombar, who set his Cooks Hill unit alight before turning the gun on himself. Also wounded was Annika's de facto husband, 55-year-old Alexander Radosavljevic. Gombar was charged with manslaughter, malicious wounding and setting fire to property. Justice Woods in the Sydney Supreme Court today sentenced him to a minimum of 6 years jail, taking into consideration his mental condition. He'll be eligible for parole in September 1999. For Annika Kalevska's family, the sentence is not enough. They say Annika and Alexander befriended Gombar, believing he was lonely. However, their kind deeds were repaid in a way no one could ever have imagined.
6 years is nothing. He took a life, he wounded someone and did a lot of damage to some property. 6 years is just nothing, it's not enough.
Sophie and her family fear for their safety when Gombar is released. They say what he did was premeditated and he should have been charged with murder.
A few years ago he had said that in Australia there is no law, you can kill anybody and get away with it, and that's what he did.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
The boys are in a group called Two Legal Force. At an average age of 16, they are giving fences already defaced by illegal graffiti a bold new look.
We're trying to do the right thing and get the people off the street and start to paint the walls and express themselves in a public that's legal.
All the homeowners in this Cardiff backstreet have given their approval, and the boys are paying for the paint out of their own pockets.
Probably close to $500 worth of paint on the walls.
All paid for by you guys?
Yep.
The boys believe this is the way to stop unwanted graffiti. It's a concept Newcastle Council has taken on board, encouraging artists to paint in specially designated areas. And anyone contemplating doing the wrong thing should consider the recent ruling by a Warramai Court magistrate that 5 young offenders spend their school holidays cleaning their mess. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The plan released today by the Greater Taree Tourism Board brings an innovative approach to the marketing of the tourism potential of the area. It recognises that the Manning Valley has many events capable of attracting visitors, but to maximise the district's drawing power, things have to be coordinated.
It's taking our events organisation as it now exists and expanding on that to ensure that we have a continual flow of visitors to the area.
But an events-driven program is only part of the scheme. Councillor Hamilton believes the area's holiday appeal can be enhanced by the formation of a country-city cousin relationship along the lines of the international sister city idea.
Research has shown us that 60% of people who visit the area stay with family and friends, and indeed that they are the major influencer on holiday destinations to their family and friends in turn when they're home in the urban areas.
Another advantage of the Taree Centre of Country Hospitality plan is that it's cost-effective. With residents spreading the word, there's reduced reliance on costly media advertising campaigns. Commercial operators will be involved as well, setting the agenda.
Passing harbour traffic saluted the memorial and the hundreds who gathered on the foreshore for its dedication ceremony, recognising the role of merchant mariners in our seafaring heritage.
I was 14 when I went to sea. I put my age up to 15. You had to be 15. And when we were torpedoed, I'd just gone out of my 17th birthday.
A memorial such as this has been a long time coming, and it was only this year that merchant mariners were recognised with the same entitlements available to services personnel for their efforts during the war. Survivors and families affected by the sinkings never forgot and in recent years lobbied to establish a permanent memorial.
It was just something I wanted to do for our merchant boys. I had a brother on the Iron Chieftain and that's, you know, that's why I wanted it, for those 3 ships. But it's come to this.
Wreaths laid at the memorial will be collected and scattered over the sea off Nobbies tomorrow morning. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
Scone Council had previously rejected the piggery as an environmental risk, but the Minister for Planning, Robert Webster, overruled the council and recommended the piggery be built if it met 41 conditions. But the environmental fight appeared to be all in vain this week, with rumours Danpork would build its $43 million piggery at Warwick in Queensland. The company would go back to its original plan of 69,000 pigs instead of the 45,000 insisted upon by the state government. But in another twist, Scone Council has reluctantly admitted it's still the most probable site for the piggery. Mayor Barry Rose says Danpork wrote to Council yesterday to reconsider its refusal to allow the company to draw water from the town supply. The request will be discussed on Monday night. But Mayor Barry Rose says it's unlikely the decision will be reversed, as the piggery would draw so much water it could leave the town dry. Danpork was unable to be contacted for comment. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Brisk temperatures failed to cool the competitive spirit at Newcastle netball courts today. It was serious business with spots in the Hunter Region High School's rep side up for grabs. As well, teams from 7 zones were out to win the regional title. Manning in the yellow and maroon gave reigning champions City a run for their money. However, the Blues put on a disciplined performance, goal shooter Sharon Anderson helping her team to clinch victory 12-10. The most improved side, East Lakes in the maroon, were never troubled by North West, while North East region in blue took a while to get on target. But once they did, never looked back, defeating West Lakes 10-5. From these games, selectors have named a 10-member representative side. This team will travel to Albury to defend the state title next month.
Disney on Ice is a winning mixture of old favourites and ice skating. The Big Bad Wolf has been one of the most loved, looking more tame than terrifying. The show has left the crowd in awe in its first 2 days, capacity houses in both matinee and night sessions. The Disney magic has also worked wonders for the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, making a financial fantasy come true. By the end of its 10-show run on Sunday, more than 40,000 people will have watched the cartoon characters on ice.
Our normal shows here, the biggest attendances that we've had recently were the Moscow Circus event, and this show in total attendance is almost double that.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Concerned residents gathered on the banks of the Manning at midday, a last chance for them to have their say on the future of the park. Speakers included councillors and locals. Yellow ribbons adorned people and trees as a sign of support. Defender of the park, Don Ranard, says the only change should be upgrading of the public facilities.
Well, I'm extremely happy with this turnout, Tracy. I think it's quite a clear demonstration that the people of the Manning Valley do not want vehicular access to this park.
Taree Mayor Ralph Metcalfe referred to the potential road site as an eyesore, but encouraged residents to make submissions to council before the Monday 4:30 p.m. deadline. Tracy Walsh, NBN News. The students taking part in the introductory drawing course at Tuncurry Foster TAFE are relatively new to the visual arts, but their best works are being hung and sold at a major regional art gallery.
I've actually been getting a fair few framed lately, so this is all a plus to me.
Course organiser Kevin Hegarty says students may undertake further training or seek employment in the design industry.
I really want to improve my drawing skills, so I've come along for this drawing class and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Tracy Walsh, NBN News. Every nation has been represented and every step taken to make the Students' United Nations gathering as lifelike as possible. It's become an annual event in Rotary District 9650.
I think it's made a lot of us realise the importance of the United Nations, as well as the importance of other countries besides Australia and their views on things.
The teenagers are required to research their countries and take stands on several resolutions, including military, environmental and social issues.
Because I go to a Catholic school, it's hard to realise what other religions would feel, and now I have to portray everything that I do from a Muslim attitude, so it gives you a wider idea on topics.
In keeping with religious ideals, the Muslim countries requested a prayer meeting at midday. Organisers say it's been the most successful assembly to date. Tracy Walsh, NBN News.
Trailing 4-0 early in the second half, Marlins prop Steve Baker put his side on the board. Mark Jones added to this, the Bay leading 6-4. Then South's fullback Jamie Hadfield wielded a little magic before offloading to Darren forward. The movement finished by Brett Botham. Gary Bray got his first from 4 attempts to take South's 10-6 ahead. The Lions continued the momentum. Final score South 26, North Nelson Bay 10. In today's other games, West down Waratah 20-10 and Toronto 26, too good for Maitland 20.
90 schools from throughout the region are taking part in this 9th year of the festival, which gives dancers from kindergarten right up to year 12 the chance to experience all facets of theatre work. Some have been preparing for the event since late last year, and all are putting everything into their performances.
The Dance Festival is designed to promote dance in the state schools and also to give children the opportunity to perform in a professional venue with professional lighting and an audience.
The festival is also a chance to experiment with dance and to see what other schools are doing, all helping to develop technique. And there's no doubting its worth, with dancing and classical ballet now official HSC courses.
Some of the girls, especially in high school, and boys have been involved in the choreography, and they go on perhaps opening their own studios, perhaps going into their own companies, and perhaps going into the teaching service as well.
The best of the acts will be chosen to take the show on the road, with several busloads due to perform their chosen works in Taree and Singleton after the upcoming school holidays. The scenario: a worker has suffered a heart attack near the top of the stairs, snaking up the side of the towering concrete cylinders. As well, he's injured both ankles in a resulting fall. The problem is to get him quickly to a waiting ambulance without causing more discomfort or, worse still, further injury. The method used is simple. After initial treatment, tie him into a Stokes litter, a kind of wraparound stretcher, and manhandle him all the way to the bottom. The technique may be simple, but the rescue squad is made up in the main of 12 part-timers who are called in when the alarm is raised. It's paramount then to maintain their skills, hence the importance of today's exercise and similar ones held at least monthly.
Following the weekend's victories over Brisbane and Townsville, the Falcons have now won 4 games in a row. This winning streak has helped them climb from 10th to equal 8th on the ladder.
We needed it because we had the bad start, and really it's a good feeling within the team. We feel that we're fulfilling our promise.
Derek Rucker starred on the weekend, top scoring in both games, this placing him second on the NBL scorers list and league leader in assists. Newcomer Tony Jensen has also impressed and now regularly appears in the starting 5.
Going up to Townsville and playing against his old team, he had a 14-point night, a good ball game, and then topped that on Saturday night with his best game so far in the NBL.
With the season just past the midway point, the Falcons face a tough run home. 8 of their remaining 13 games are against teams placed higher than them on the ladder. As for how many of those games the Falcons need to win to stay in the top 8,
really it's a matter in this league, no one knows how many you have to win for the playoffs, and we're not really looking at it in those terms. We want to finish as high as we can, and so we want to win all of them.
a truck arriving with a load of green and gold wheelie bins intrigued residents in a Kincumber street today. They may look like your ordinary household rubbish bin, but as their colours suggest, they are unusual. The new bins have separate compartments. Residents will be asked to place their newspapers in the front division and other recyclables in the rear section. However, the council won't begin emptying the green and gold bins till October, when it is hoped all residents will be issued with them. Gosford Council said its previous attempts at recycling had left streets in a mess when bundles of newspapers placed at curbsides became soggy when it rained and boxes with bottles burst open. Mayor Dirk O'Connor described the city's next stage of recycling.
In October we'll have our own MRF or multi-recycling facility which will sort everything out. This today is the start of the handing out of the bins. That is going to encourage people to separate things. And after that, of course, we'll go into the wood chip recycling. We'll go into the recycling at the tip itself, whereby people dump things, they are sorted, and they're probably either sold or recycled on the spot.
Years ago, it was a way of life. Everyone was rock and rolling, and the more flamboyant the moves, the better. But on Saturday night, Elaine Hart and Brian Rumble were asked to stop jiving because some staff and customers at the Cessnock Ex-Services Club found the moves offensive and dangerous.
The fellow that picks up the glasses, we found out later on to be he was a floor walker. He just came in, just tapped me on the shoulder like that and told me to get off the dance floor. At first I thought he was joking, and I asked him why, and he said that I was showing too much niggers.
What apparently upset those at the club were moves like this, where Elaine's underpants showed. Elaine says she was demoralised and embarrassed by what occurred.
Well, I was wearing two pairs of undies and my pantyhose, and I think that's all the precaution that you need. You know what I mean? As I say, I'm not really young, but I'm quite modest as to what I wear. I don't show it all off.
Manager of the Cessnock Ex-Services Club, Alf Harris, says he spoke to the couple because he believed the dance was dangerous. He says he was concerned that someone might have been hurt by the twists and twirls and the club's insurance might not have covered it. Elaine and Brian say they don't dance when the floor is crowded. While Mr Harris insists he didn't mention that the moves were offensive, he does acknowledge it was an issue.
If you'd been there and seen it, they were just rock and roll. The way he was throwing her up in the air, he was throwing her up and catching her, and her legs were flying. I've got nothing. That's her legs. It's not my legs. And what I mean to say, if they put on for you, you'll see what happens.
Mr Harris has invited the couple to come back to the club. Would you go back to that club?
No.
No. Not unless they apologised.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
In a team of champions, the Chief Paul Harrigan has made his mark. In the Sydney clash, he just missed out on the man of the match. In Melbourne, he took the award. Last night, a sound all-round game.
Yeah, very tough. I found it much tougher than the other two.
Harrigan was all over the paddock, tackling his heart out, always making metres through the centre of the ruck. This game rates as one of his career highlights.
As good as it comes, mate. And something to always remember, 3 in a row, it's a bit of history.
There was no doubt over his selection for the Aussie team against France. Obviously delighted, the big fella arrived with teammates in Sydney in party mode. The Chief is expected back in Newcastle tomorrow. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Ernest Edward Krieg was before Wallsend Court this afternoon, charged with murdering Robert Wright at Morisset Hospital overnight. The two were patients in Ward 8, the psychogeriatric unit. It's alleged a duty nurse noticed Krieg standing beside his bed at around 1 o'clock this morning. On investigation, the nurse found the body of Rourke. The court was told a bed sheet was wrapped around his ankles and a blue plastic sheet around his neck. Police questioned staff and patients before charging Krieg. It's believed he was only admitted to the hospital last week. What makes this matter so difficult for police and the courts is the condition of the patients involved. All 36 inmates of Ward 8 suffer dementia and some degree of memory loss. The Hunter Area Health Service has launched its own inquiry.
Of course, we're assisting the police in their inquiries, and we're just as keen as the police, the relatives and the staff to identify anything that we can do in the future to minimise the chance of this shocking incident occurring again.
Krieg will reappear in court next month when a psychiatric assessment should be completed. He's been remanded in custody. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
The play is set in a French country farmhouse, the venue for confusion and chaos.
A dinner is about to take place, and somebody said, "Shall I change my clothes?" No, don't dress for dinner.
Perhaps better known to television viewers as Renee in Allo, Gordon Kay has finally made it to Australia. He was due to come here in 1990, but a serious road accident resulted in Max Gillies replacing him in the stage role of Renee. Now Gordon has replaced Gillies, who's recovering from heart surgery, in the role of Bernard in Don't Dress for Dinner.
Nobody has ever seen the two of us together. Are we one and the same person? That could be a thought, you see.
And then there's Katie Manning.
Am I a cook, a waitress, a model, an actress, a mistress, a prostitute, or a pigsty attendant? And I think that's roughly all the different things that I have to be in this piece.
After 20 years in the business, she's best known for her role as the bubbly offsider of television's Doctor Who, where playing opposite monsters became second nature.
You have to believe it first. And that applies to farce, which is what we're playing here. Although there's all these incredible situations, you know, that sometimes audiences say, oh, come on. The whole thing is that if every actor on stage believes that's really happening, then the audience ultimately will.
Don't Dress for Dinner opens at the Civic tonight, the Newcastle season wrapping up its Australian tour.
The Martyrs leader, Sister Monica Sinclair, called a media conference late today to outline the hospital's intention to enter into discussions with the Hunter Area Health Service about the hospital's future.
Well, we've come to realise that this is the only way forward, that while we try to work in isolation, we can't achieve anything.
The Martyr Hospital is funded by the Hunter Area Health Service but run by the Sisters of Mercy, who founded it in the 1920s. Sister Sinclair says one option open for consideration is for the hospital to consolidate its cancer services.
We would like to see the cancer service offered by the hospital here developed to its maximum potential. We don't believe that that has been achieved so far.
If cancer services are consolidated on this site, that could mean the general hospital beds will have to move elsewhere, possibly to a new hospital for the region.
That is certainly an option that we are prepared to consider.
Sister Sinclair says the Sisters of Mercy would want to run it. Parts of the Martyr Hospital are very run down. It's been estimated that it would cost $120 million to refurbish it. A new hospital for the area would be significantly cheaper. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Police received the call just after 1:30 this morning. An area at the back of the video business was searched. A spent cartridge and a tyre lever were found. It's thought the lever may have been used by the two men to try to jemmy open the back door. Inside at the time was 47-year-old Dennis Gardner.
The occupant, who is also the proprietor, heard barking and a bit of a ruckus out the back, and he's gone to investigate, and he was confronted by two males.
Mr. Gardner approached the men. One fired what's believed to be a .22 calibre rifle, the bullet lodging in the wall behind where Mr. Gardner was standing. Although bleeding from the shoulder, he managed to call police. He was taken to John Hunter Hospital. Robbery may have been a motive, but police aren't sure. It's believed an attempt had been made to break into the business on Monday night, and Mr. Gardner may have been staying in the shop to try to stop it happening again. Police say they have only sketchy descriptions of the men involved. They're thought to be in their late teens, early 20s, both of athletic build, wearing jeans and dark wind cheaters. They also had on dark balaclava-type hoods. Police are speaking to neighbours, hoping someone may have seen or heard something last night. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
About a dozen workers, mostly small contractors, walked off the job angry they haven't been paid.
Leaves a bad taste in your mouth, yes.
For the last 6 months, the men have been building a $500,000 medical centre in Broadmeadow Road, Broadmeadow. They say they're owed up to $100,000.
These workers are all owed thousands of dollars. One of them actually about $32,000.
The owner of the building is a Queensland doctor, David Runderman. Dr Runderman's solicitor said she was investigating possible legal action against the company that was managing the project for the doctor. She said Dr Runderman wasn't aware the men were owed money until about 12 days ago. At a meeting last week, the doctor paid the men some money. The solicitor said the doctor has guaranteed to pay up completely when the job is finished. But the workers are calling for their payment now. Bringing in their union, they've voted to meet tomorrow and discuss future action. It's believed there is about another 3 weeks of work in the project. Peter Ryan, NBN News.